This is All India Radio. A warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is Renuka, and with me is Renu Kataria, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring to you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. India and France review military-to-military cooperation and discuss strengthening maritime cooperation. Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar says India is the most favoured destination for investment and opportunities in the world. Anti-COVID lockdown protest spreads to Beijing, Shanghai and many big cities across China. International Film Festival of India IFFI 2022 concludes with a glittering ceremony in Goa. I&B Minister Anurag Thakur says India's goal is to build enriching filming ecosystem. Sensex and Nifty continue record-breaking streak. And in FIFA Football World Cup, Cameroon and Serbia play out a 3-3 draw to keep their hopes still alive. And now the news in detail. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh held the 4th India-France Annual Defence Dialogue with Minister of Armed Forces of France, Sébastien Lecornu, in New Delhi on Monday. The Defence Ministry said in a statement that the meeting was held in a cordial atmosphere. A wide range of bilateral, regional, defence and defence industrial cooperation issues were discussed in the dialogue. The ministers reviewed the ongoing military-to-military cooperation, which has increased substantially in the recent years. They discussed means to strengthen maritime cooperation and increase the scope and complexity of bilateral exercises. They noted with satisfaction that India and France recently held their bilateral air exercise Garuda at Air Force Station Jodhpur successfully. More from our correspondent.
During the dialogue, one of the key areas of discussion was defence industrial cooperation with a focus on Make in India. Future collaborations and potential co-production opportunities were discussed. The ministers agreed that the technical groups from both the countries should meet early next year and take the key cooperation issues forward. The ministers recognized their convergences on a number of strategic and defense issues and shared the commitment to work together on enhancing cooperation in bilateral, regional and multilateral fora, with a focus on the Indo-Pacific region. France is the current chair of Indian Ocean Commission and Indian Scan-Naval Symposium, and both countries cooperate closely in these fora. As part of his visit to India, Mr. Lecornu yesterday made a day-long trip to headquarters, Southern Naval Command, and visited India's first indigenous aircraft carrier INS Vikrant. He stated that he was highly impressed with INS Vikrant. France is one of India's most trusted strategic partners, and both countries look forward to celebrating 25 years of their strategic partnership in 2023. Suparna Saikia for World News.
Defence expert Commodore Uday Bhaskar opined that Mr. Lecornu's visit to INS Vikrant is a clear indication of France's intention to extend naval cooperation with India.
The most important is the focus on industrial and technological partnership to advance India's Atmanirbharta policy. France has the profile and the pedigree to be a major partner for India in enhancing each other's strategic and security capabilities. The visit of the French Defense Minister to the Indian aircraft carrier INS Vikrant is illustrative of the potential for meaningful bilateral cooperation as far as the two navies are concerned. The first INS Vikrant in 1961 had the French Alizé aircraft on board at that time. Perhaps there is a strong case to review and revisit the possibilities for Indo-French cooperation in the naval domain.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar also met Mr. Lecornu in New Delhi. In a tweet, Dr. Jaishankar said that they had a wide-ranging discussion on contemporary strategic developments. India-Malaysia joint military exercise Harimau Shakti 2022 started at Pulai Klang in Malaysia from Monday. The military exercise will culminate on the 12th of next month. The Defence Ministry said Harimau Shakti will enhance the defence cooperation between the Indian Army and the Malaysian Army. It said combat troops of the Garhwal Rifles Regiment of the Indian Army and the Royal Malay Regiment of the Malaysian Army are participating in the exercise. The military exercise will enhance interoperability in planning and execution of various operations in jungle terrain. During the exercise, emphasis will be made on developing tactical skills and enhancing interoperability between the two forces. Harivav Shakti is an annual training event between Indian and Malaysian armies which has been conducted since 2012.
Moving on to our segment G20 in India. In the run-up to India assuming the G20 presidency, a special briefing of the head of missions and members of international organizations was held at Swaraj Dweep in Andaman Nicobar Islands on Saturday. More than 40 delegates, including G20 Sherpa Amitabh Kant and Chief Coordinator Harshvardhan Shringla, attended the meeting. The delegates were apprised of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of India's G20 presidency as reflected in the theme Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, or One Earth, One Family, One Future. G20 Chief Coordinator Harshvardhan Shringla briefed about the extensive arrangements for the meetings across India and facilitation for the participation of delegates. He recalled that the day also marks India's Constitution Day and the 14th anniversary of the Mumbai terror attacks and the importance of facing global challenges together. Delegates appreciated the elaborate arrangements made for the meeting. Prior to the briefing, delegates also took part in a yoga session followed by a beach cleaning activity which symbolizes our pro-planet, sustainable lifestyles and One Earth approach. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a commentary hosting G20 Special Opportunity for Global Good and Welfare Prime Minister. The script is written by senior journalist Manish Anand.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi took note of widespread awareness within the country over India assuming the G20 presidency on 1st of December, saying that this is a special opportunity for the global good and world welfare. Addressing the 95th edition of the monthly broadcast Mann Ki Baat over All India Radio Network, Prime Minister Modi richly applauded the people from remote areas of the country, connecting with India's major responsibility to helm the leadership of G20. He stated that the G20 logo and the website have already been unveiled, while urging students to hold debates on campuses on issues related to the grouping, which is an economic powerhouse of the world. The G20 has a partnership comprising 2/3 of the world's population, 3/4 of world trade, and 85% of the global GDP. We have to make full use of the presidency of G20 and focus on global good, world welfare, said the Prime Minister. Indeed, India will have to play a key role to guide the global community on the path of peace and collective economic prosperity with actions for climate change mitigation efforts. Prime Minister Modi rightly underlined that India has solutions for global peace, unity, sensitivity towards the environment and sustainable development. For G20 presidency, India has given an apt theme, One Earth, One Family, One Future, embodying the spirit of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. India is gearing up to host more than 200 meetings across the country in the course of 1 year of the G20 presidency. During this period, people from different parts of the world will get a chance to visit your states. The Prime Minister is sure that it will bring diverse and distinctive colors of Indian culture to the world. The people also have to remember that those coming to the G20 events, even if they come now as delegates, are tourists of the future, stressed Prime Minister Narendra Modi. True, the occasion is apt to market India's rich cultural diversity and also exotic tourist destinations. Tourism sector in the next decade can act as a force multiplier for the GDP growth of the country, and hosting G20 could give the places in India the right exposure to the global community. India has taken giant strides in the space sector, which has been opened for the private players by the government. This has unleashed an extraordinary journey for startups, with the launch of Vikram S being a stellar example. The Prime Minister applauded the launch of Vikram S rocket. Quote, as soon as this first rocket of the indigenous space startup made a historic flight from Sriharikota, the heart of every Indian swelled with pride. Vikram S rocket is lighter than other rockets and also cheaper. Its development cost is much less than the cost incurred by other countries. Some crucial parts of this rocket have been made through 3D printing, unquote, noted the Prime Minister. Also noteworthy is the fact that India is sharing its success in the space sector with its neighbouring countries. Mr. Modi stated that India launched a satellite which has been jointly developed by India and Bhutan to help Bhutan in the management of its natural resources. The Prime Minister also mentioned social issues in the radio broadcast with a clear aim to sensitize the people about the challenges which the people face collectively. In the 95th episode of the Mann Ki Baat program, Prime Minister Modi turned his focus on the issue of muscular dystrophy, an ailment caused by a genetic disorder which can strike at any age, in which the muscles of the body begin to weaken. Prime Minister Modi paid his rich tributes to a centre at Solan in Himachal Pradesh, which is taking care of the patients afflicted with the ailment. Manav Mandir, being run by the Indian Association of Muscular Dystrophy, is a wonderful example of human service, where outpatient department OPD and admission services for the patients were started here 3 or 4 years ago. Manav Mandir also has the facility of beds for about 50 patients. Along with physiotherapy, electrotherapy and hydrotherapy, diseases are also treated here with the help of Yoga Pranayam, stated the Prime Minister. He also shared a number of musical clips to the listeners of All India Radio that show the celebrations of Indian culture in various parts of the world. This is Saira Mujtaba for World News.
Vice President of India Jagdeep Dhankar gave away Shilp Guru and National Awards to master craftspersons for 2017, 18 and 19 at a function in New Delhi. Speaking on the occasion, the Vice President congratulated the artists, saying that they are the cultural ambassadors of the country, whose artifacts show the cultural depth of India. He said, due to its creativity, Indian handicrafts are more sought after in the world. He asserted that the rise of the country is unstoppable and India is the most favoured destination in terms of investment and opportunities in the world.
India is on the rise as never before. Rise of India is unstoppable and we are the most favoured destination globally for investment and opportunity. जो कल्पना नहीं की वो हासिल हुआ है, इसमें आपका योगदान है. कुछ ही माह पहले we became the 5th largest global economy in the world. जो सोच नहीं सकते थे पहले, वो जमीनी हकीकत है. And I am very confident by end of the decade we will be the 3rd largest economy on a global horizon.
On the occasion, Union Textile Minister Piyush Goyal said India is one of the major handicraft hubs of the world and its handicrafts export is increasing continuously. The 7th edition of the Global Technology Summit, GTS, will be held from Tuesday till the 1st of December in New Delhi in hybrid format. The summit is India's annual flagship event on geotechnology and is co-hosted by the Ministry of External Affairs and Carnegie India. The inaugural session of the summit would be a conversation of External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on geodigital and its effects. The External Affairs Ministry said that over the course of 3 days, the world's leading minds in technology, government, security, space, startups, data, law, public health, climate change, academics, economy will gather and debate the vital questions related to technology and its future. The theme for this year's summit is Geopolitics of Technology. GTS 2022 will see participation from more than 100 speakers across over 50 panel discussions, keynote addresses, book launches and other events. Ministers and senior government officials from the US, Singapore, Japan, Nigeria, Brazil, Bhutan, the European Union and other countries will also participate in the summit. More than 5,000 participants from all over the world have registered to attend the summit. A large number of participants would be joining the conversations through the GTS Summit website and Carnegie India's YouTube and social media pages.
Government of India has extended the term of Vinay Mohan Quatra as the Foreign Secretary. The IFS officer's term has been extended beyond the date of his superannuation on 31st December of this year up to 30th April 2024 or until further orders. This is All India Radio giving you the world news.
In China, protests against strict COVID restrictions and continuous lockdowns have spread to many big cities, including the capital Beijing and the financial hub Shanghai. Hundreds of demonstrators gathered in Beijing last night against President Xi's zero-COVID policy. In Shanghai, protests continued for a second night over the weekend. More from our correspondent.
Protesters in Shanghai again clashed with police last night as protests have flared and spread to several cities and universities, which started in response to the anger after a deadly fire killed 10 people in Urumqi, Xinjiang, apparently due to strict lockdowns. This wave of civil disobedience is unprecedented in mainland China since President Xi Jinping assumed power a decade ago as frustrations mounts over his signature zero-COVID policy. Anshuman Mishra, AIR News, Beijing.
Meanwhile, China has reported a fifth straight daily record of over 40,000 new COVID-19 infections. In Belgium, the police detained a dozen people and made one arrest on Sunday after Morocco's victory over Belgium in the World Cup football match in the Qatar triggered riots in several places. A car and some electric scooters were set on fire. The riots took place in several places across the Belgian capital, where dozens of soccer fans, some draped in Moroccan flags, clashed with the police. The police said that situation is now under control and preventive patrols remain in place in the concerned areas.
The bilateral training exercise Ostra Hind 22 between contingents of the Indian Army commenced on Monday at Mahajan Field Firing Ranges in Rajasthan. This is the first exercise in the series of Ostra Hind with participation of all arms and services contingent from both armies. The Australian Army contingent comprising soldiers from the 13th Brigade of the 2nd Division has arrived at the exercise location. The Indian Army is represented by troops from the Dogra Regiment. Exercise Ostra Hind will be a yearly event that will be conducted alternately in India and Australia. Aim of the exercise is to build positive military relations, imbibe each other's best practices and promote the ability to operate together while undertaking multi-domain operations in semi-desert terrain under a UN peace enforcement mandate. Canada has launched its long-awaited Indo-Pacific strategy outlining $1.7 billion in spending to boost military and cyber security in the region. It has also vowed to deal with the disruptive China while working with it on climate change and trade issues. The plan, detailed in a 26-page document, said Canada will tighten foreign investment rules to protect intellectual property and prevent Chinese state-owned enterprises from snapping up critical mineral supplies. Canada is seeking to deepen ties with the fast-growing Indo-Pacific region of 40 countries accounting for almost 50 trillion Canadian dollars in economic activity. 4 cabinet ministers at a news conference in Vancouver took turns detailing the new plan, saying the strategy was crucial for Canada's national security and climate as well as its economic goals. The strategy plan says China is an increasingly disruptive global power. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's Liberal government wants to diversify trade and economic ties that are overwhelmingly reliant on the United States. Official data for September show bilateral trade with China accounted for under 7% of the total compared to 68% for the United States.
In Italy, at least 7 people, including a newborn baby and 2 children, were killed on the southern holiday island of Ischia after a landslide caused by torrential rain devastated a small town, an official said on Sunday. 5 people were still missing, Naples Prefect Claudio Palomba told a news conference. He said dozens of emergency workers rushed to the island while rescue divers searched the waters off the coast. A wave of mud, debris and stones broke away from the island's highest mountain on Saturday and crashed down over houses and roads in and around town of Casa Micciola Terme. Densely populated, Ischia is a volcanic island which lies some 30 kilometers from Naples. It draws visitors to its thermal baths and picturesque coastline. The death toll is likely to rise further as search operations are underway. The world's largest active volcano, Hawaii's Mauna Loa, is erupting for the first time in almost 40 years. Officials said lava flows are contained within the summit area and are not threatening downslope communities. But the notification from the U.S. Geological Service warned the situation could change rapidly. An ashfall advisory is in effect for Hawaii's Big Island and the surrounding waters, and residents have been told to remain vigilant. The volcano's alert level has been upgraded from an advisory to a warning, its highest classification. Mauna Loa last erupted in March and April of 1984, sending lava flows within 8 kilometers of the city of Hilo. The latest eruption began last night at the volcano summit caldera. Calderas are hollows that form beneath the summit at the end of an eruption. If the eruption migrates beyond the walls of the summit caldera, lava flows could move rapidly downslope, it added. The government of Bangladesh on Monday approved an ordinance empowering itself to fix energy prices without waiting for the decision of the energy regulator, Bangladesh Energy Regulatory Commission, BERC. Briefing media after the cabinet meeting chaired by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, Cabinet Secretary Khandker Anwarul Islam said that the amendment empowers the government to set fuel tariff on its own under special circumstances without waiting for the public hearing and decision by the BERC. Till now, the government had to put the proposal for changing the fuel and electricity prices before the energy regulator, BERC. The BERC used to review the proposal and conduct a public hearing on the government proposal, which could take up to 90 days. The amendment will allow the government to set the energy price on an urgent basis if the situation demands.
India's milk production has registered a monumental growth in the last 8 years as it has increased by 83 million tons. In 2013-14, the production was 138 million tons, which has increased to 221 million tons in 2021-22. Reacting to it, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said a vibrant dairy sector is also a great way to further strengthen Nari Shakti. Union Minister for Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Parshottam Rupala, has credited it to the government's initiatives for a paradigm shift in the policy perspective of the dairy and animal husbandry sector in the last 8 years. He added a huge budgetary allocation has also been made for this sector, which was mostly ignored earlier. The minister also said that centre has expanded the vaccination program for foot and mouth disease to pan-India. He added that it was launched as an eradication program, which was earlier a disease control program limited to selected states and districts. The Health and Family Welfare Ministry Pavilion has won the Outstanding Contribution towards Public Communication and Outreach Award at 41st India International Trade Fair 2022 at Pragati Maidan, New Delhi. The Health Pavilion conducted as many as 37,887 screenings, investigations, counselling and training. Nearly 5,530 visitors visited the National Health Authority or NHA counter, where 1,110 visitors got their Ayushman Bharat health account cards, and benefits of getting Abha ID were also provided. The Health Pavilion also organized quiz competitions on various health-related issues to engage the audience and disseminate information. One of the major highlights of the award-winning pavilion was conversations with experts, renowned doctors and other eminent personalities.
The 53rd International Film Festival of India, IFFI, has ended in Goa. The closing ceremony was held at Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Stadium near Panaji on Monday evening. Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Singh Thakur, Minister of State for INB Dr. L. Murugan and Goa Chief Minister Pramod Samant were among those present on the occasion. A host of film personalities including Asha Parekh and Akshay Kumar also attended the event. Speaking on the occasion, INB Minister Anurag Singh Thakur said, IFFI opened up a nuanced world of cinema for audiences across the region, both young and old, new and festival veterans.
The 53rd IFFI concludes having made many new beginnings. For the first time, we reciprocate status by welcoming France as country of focus, marking 75 years of our diplomatic ties with France, and also India is celebrating the 75th year of independence. For the first time, IFFI had a technological park with a record footfall to showcase the latest innovations from the world of cinema. The exhibit presented the emerging world of virtual reality, animation, and innovations in storytelling. For the first time, the 75 young filmmakers who were selected to make films envisioning India at 100 years of independence. It remains my commitment to give a strong emphasis and provide a platform to regional cinema.
The minister said the government's goal is to build an enriching filming ecosystem and a future-ready industry in India under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Our correspondent reports that Telugu megastar Chiranjeevi was conferred the Indian Film Personality of the Year award. Over his 4.5-decade career, he has worked in more than 150 films in Telugu, Tamil and Hindi. Speaking at the event, Chiranjeevi said that a few recognitions are special and this award is one amongst them.
I'd like to thank Goan and IFFI and INB Ministry and the Government of India, my friends, my producers, my directors, my co-stars, my technicians, each and everybody who has contributed, who has supported me to reach to this megastar level. For everyone, I bow my head and thank you so much. I love you.
The coveted Golden Peacock Award for the Best Film was backed by the Spanish-language movie I Have Electric Dreams, directed by Valentina Morel. Rising for the fifth straight session, domestic markets continued its record-breaking streak for the third consecutive day. Both benchmark indices, Sensex and Nifty, rose 0.3% on Monday. The rupee ended almost flat against the US dollar. A report from the business desk.
The Sensex gained 211 points to close at a fresh closing high of 62,505. Nifty rose 50 points to also end at an all-time high of 18,563. At the global stock markets, most Asian markets suffered a broad sell-off as rare protests in major Chinese cities hit growth expectations in the world's second-largest economy. China posted record-high COVID-19 infections on Monday, registering worst performance in a month. China's Shanghai Composite Index declined 0.8%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index plunged 1.6%. Japan's Nikkei 225 Index fell 0.4%. South Korea's Kospi Index dropped 1.2% and Singapore's Straits Times Index ended almost flat. European markets were also trading lower. Global crude oil prices fell nearly 3% to near their lowest levels this year on concern about fuel demand. Brent crude oil futures was hovering around $81 a barrel. Back home at the multi-commodity exchange, gold rose 108 rupees to 52,652 for December contracts at multi-commodity exchange. Silver also gained 109 rupees to trade at 61,785 rupees per kilogram for December contracts when reports last came in. In the forex market, the rupee gained just 2 paise against the US dollar. The domestic currency closed at 81 rupees and 67 paise against the American currency. This is Lalema Aneja Dang for World News All India Radio.
Cameroon and Serbia played a thrilling 3-3 draw in a high-intensity Group G match on Monday and kept hopes alive of entering last 16 at the FIFA World Cup in Qatar. Cameroon took the lead in the 29th minute. Serbia turned the game around thanks to 2 quick goals in first half stoppage time to lead 2-1. 8 minutes after the restart, Serbia scored again to make it 3-1. And now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Washington Post writes, rare protest against China's zero-COVID policy erupt across the country. The Guardian writes that Twitter failed to detect upload of Christchurch mosque terror attack videos. South China Morning Post says Hong Kong leader to ask Beijing to interpret national security law after top court rules UK barrister can defend Jimmy Lai.
And now a quick look at the headlines once again. India and France review military-to-military cooperation and discuss strengthening maritime cooperation. Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar says India is the most favoured destination for investment and opportunities in the world. Anti-COVID lockdown protest spreads to Beijing, Shanghai and many big cities across China. International Film Festival of India, IFFI 2022 concludes with a glittering ceremony in Goa. INB Minister Anurag Thakur says India's goal is to build enriching filming ecosystem. Sensex and Nifty continued record-breaking streak, and in FIFA Football World Cup, Cameroon and Serbia play out a 3-3 draw to keep their hopes still alive. And now before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favourite bhajan, Vaishnava Jan, by artists from Mauritania. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.